How's it going, everybody? I am DJ Riley, one of the hosts from Boys on the Bench, and I am back with my top 5 NBA plays for these Tuesday games. Now, if you were following along yesterday, you did see that we went 3-1 yesterday after Tobias Harris was a scratch pretty early on in the day, but before I released this video, he was expected to play. But Jaren Jackson was my pick of the day. He ended up finishing with 31 points plus rebounds plus assists, cashing this very easily, where Nikola Vucevic ended up hitting this. Really, the only one that didn't was that Pascal Siakam play, it was just kind of weird watching that Indiana Pacers team really not have anything figured out versus a bad Charlotte Hornets team, especially after trading away some key pieces at that trade deadline. So I'm not really sure what happened here. I love that Pascal Siakam play a lot. Just didn't work out. Jamal Murray played limited minutes. He ended up having an injury, leaving early in the game, but played 17 minutes and had 0 assists. So we ended up going 3-1, ended up ending in the positive, had that 1.5 times multiplier after having that Tobias Harris healthy scratch in that game. So anyways, I do have 5 more picks for you today, but before we jump into that, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button, hitting that notification bell, and getting notified anytime that these videos drop. Also, make sure you drop a comment in the comments below. Let me know which one of these picks you are tailing, which ones you're fading. Any of that helps this channel grow, gets this video out to more people. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump into these top picks that I have for you today. Now, my pick of the day that I'm going to start with is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander going over 37.5 points plus assist. He does have a 1-game history versus this Orlando Magic team. On January 13th, we saw him in that game go for 44 points plus assist on 36 minutes of play. Now, if we look at what Daily Grind Fantasy is giving us, they're giving us a 52.2% chance of hitting with an average juice of minus 128. Now, recent performances, he's only hit this in 2 out of his last 5 and 5 out of his last 10. Now, where I really like this is Orlando currently ranks bottom 10 in personal fouls, allowing the 8th most free throws in all of the NBA. In their one matchup this season, we saw Shai have 12 free throw attempts. Even in games where we see him take 10 free throw attempts, he's hit this over in 16 out of the 20 possible games this season. So yes, although Orlando is good defensively, they have struggled versus point guards. And we know that Shai loves to take it to the rim. He's a professional scorer. If you've watched an OKC game, announcers love to say that. And really, he truly is a professional scorer. But Orlando versus point guards, points plus assists, they allow the 5th most in all of the NBA. So again, a highly favorable matchup for Shai versus a tough defense, but that ball will be in his hands like it is most games. And again, Orlando struggles with fouling, and they struggle versus point guards. So really love him here. But moving on to the next pick, I have Rudy Gobert going over 26.5 points plus rebounds. Does have a 1-game history versus his Portland Trailblazers team. On January 12th, he had 41 points plus rebounds in 28 minutes of play. Daily Grind Fantasy is currently giving this a 51.1% chance of hitting with an average juice of minus 123. Now, recent performances, he's hit this in 5 straight, and he's also hit this in 7 out of his last 10. Since the start of February, the Trailblazers have allowed 5 out of their 6 centers to hit their overs for points plus rebounds. With 2 of the 5, they cleared by at least 10 plus. So not only did they clear it, but they're clearing it by a great number. So this is now the 4th game of a road stretch here for this Minnesota Timberwolves team. And in all the 3 games prior, he's faced strong teams, and they've been able to defend well versus this stat, but he still managed to hit the over. Those teams, Chicago Bulls, Milwaukee Bucks, and the Clippers, who have done a very good job at stopping that center position. He has a much easier matchup today versus his Portland Trailblazers team, who currently allows the 9th most points plus rebounds to the center position. So really love this matchup for Rudy Gobert, but let's move on to the next pick, and that's Mikal Bridges going under 27.5 points plus rebounds. Has a 2-game history versus this Boston Celtics team. Most recent matchup, November 10th, he had 17 points plus rebounds on 28 minutes of play. But then in his earlier matchup, he had 25 points plus rebounds in 38 minutes of play. Daily Grind Fantasy is currently giving this a 53.1% chance of hitting with an average juice of minus 134. So we're getting pretty good odds from Daily Grind Fantasy here. Again, we want that number around 54, 55. So 53% chance of hitting is not bad odds at all. So recent performances, he's hit this under in 3 out of his last 5 and 6 out of his last 10. Now, important to note here is that Cameron Johnson is going to be out again today with an injury. Now, in games without Johnson, he has hit this under in 7 out of 12 games of this season. So, Boston continues to be dominant defensively, allowing the sixth least amount of points in all of the NBA, but more importantly, the fourth least to the small forward position. Boston versus small forwards, even points plus rebounds, they also allow the fourth least. So again, Mikal Bridges is coming into this matchup versus the Boston Celtics team. Very strong defensively, very strong versus a small forward position. And Mikal Bridges has not performed well without Cameron Johnson, who is out again today. Anyways, though, let's move on to the next pick, and that is in the same game. That is Jaylen Brown going over 26.5 points plus rebounds. Again, another 2-game history versus this Nets team. In that first matchup, he had 31 points plus rebounds in 39 minutes of play, but then he also had 28 points plus rebounds in 35 minutes of play. So hitting the over in both of those games earlier this season. Now, Daily Grind Fantasy is currently giving this a 54.2% chance of hitting with an average juice of minus 140. So this is right there in that marker where we want it, that 54%. Just like we need. So recent performances, he hasn't done too great recently, hitting 2 out of his last 5 and 4 out of his last 10. So only hitting 40% over his last 5 and last 10. Now, where I like him in this matchup is Brooklyn is a bad rebounding team. They're expected to be worse, as I mentioned, with that injury to Cameron Johnson being out of the lineup today. Brown has also performed better on the road this season, where we see him hitting this line in 9 out of his last 15 away games. Brooklyn has also struggled versus the shooting guard position all season by allowing the 4th most points plus rebounds to that position. So Jaylen Brown, again, he's hit this line in both of his matchups earlier this season. We're getting very good positive EV odds. All of the books are on this daily or PrizePicks is not. So really like him in this matchup to go for 27 points plus rebounds. Now, that brings us to our last and final pick here today, but that is D'Angelo Russell going over 21.5 points plus rebounds. Does have a 1-game history versus this Detroit Pistons team on November 29th, where we saw him go for 39 points plus rebounds on 34 minutes of play. Now, if we look at what Daily Grind Fantasy is giving us, it's a 53.8% chance of hitting with an average juice of minus 138. So again, we're getting a pretty good odds here again, sitting around that 54%. So I love that play there. Now, if we look at recent performances, he's hit this line in 3 out of his last 5 and 8 out of his last 10. Now, the 2 games that he missed over that span, he only saw 27 minutes of play compared to the 33 minutes of play that he saw in all of his other games. His usage has been crazy here recently. His last 10 games, he's been averaging 18 field goal attempts per game. Now, if we look at throughout the entire season where he shot at least 18 field goal attempts, he's hit this over in 13 out of 14 possible games this season. So we expect him to have a very high usage again coming into this matchup. Detroit versus point guards, points plus rebounds, they allow the 16th most. So they're middle of the pack, nothing special, nothing good, nothing bad, necessarily sitting middle of the pack. But D'Angelo Russell has been on an absolute tear recently, and I love him in this matchup, considering he went for nearly 40 in their previous matchup this season. So anyways, guys, these are my top 5 NBA picks that I have for you today. As always, let me know in the comments below which ones you're tailing, which ones you're fading, maybe which ones I missed out on. It happens sometimes, right? So let me know that in the comments. Don't make sure to subscribe to this channel, hit that notification bell, and get notified anytime these videos are dropping. Also, in the link in the description, you can find our X profile where all of these videos are posted 100% free, so no need to stress about that. Also, in the link in the description, you can find Daily Grind Fantasy, which I was referencing throughout this video. Guys, it is one of the best positive EV betting tools. Books are always changing their lines. You need to be on top of it before PrizePicks is. So anyways, best of luck to y'all. Let's have a good Tuesday, and I will see y'all tomorrow.